What would be your number one platform position?
Yeah, I would say the economy is probably number one. I mean, that's, basically on my website, lars24.com, we have unrigged the system, and there's five main planks of policy, and there's over 37 pieces of policy that people can go through. But we picked the five most important planks that were for what Americans believe were the five most important things, which is the economy, healthcare, criminal justice reform, which is part of the marijuana thing, and then basically, unrigging our election systems, because that is one of the things that I found to be, after running and also before, that our entire election system is completely rigged, and not for the reasons that most people think. Right. And so I've really dived into that. We released a thing called the Voters' Bill of Rights, which is a piece of policy to level the playing field for voting so that it makes it fair and equal for all citizens and allows transparency and integrity back into our system. Because if we don't have free and fair elections, we don't have a functioning republic. And I think that is the message that I really want to get out, is that if there's anything that comes out of my campaign, that the system is rigged so that only the duopoly can win, that you don't have choice. We have the illusion of choice in America. And I want to allow more voices to come. In 2020, there was 1,500 people running for president. And how many of them do you know, right?
Yeah.
Probably a handful, right? And so the thing is, but I guarantee you that out of that 1,500 people, there was somebody that was better than Joe Biden or Trump.
Right. Right.
Right? And we didn't get to hear from them because their voice was silenced by
Yeah.
the rigged system, And so I want everyone from gas station attendant to millionaire to have an opportunity to run for president and be of service to this country. And I really do look at it as a service position. I don't look at it as a career. I don't look at it as something to enrich yourself with. I look at all government agents should be service to their community, right? That's a critical piece, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a really good point. I didn't realize there were so many people who'd ran for president in 2020. And, we are a very big country, 330 million strong. Why shouldn't we hear from 1,500 different candidates? That seems small even for 330 million
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
running for president. But it is a rigged system. It is only certain can get through. You have to have a lot of money backing. And the fact that the ballot access is a huge issue.
Yep.
Um, and that's controlled state by state. There's no real uniform system for that, and each state has their own requirements for how you get on the ballot, and and of course then they're controlled by Democrats or Republicans who don't want others to get on that ballot, right? It's
Yeah, and they literally would change the laws and the rules in the middle of the game, right?
Yeah, right.
I just literally got done in Maine. The Maine Secretary of State deleted all the libertarians off the voter rolls, just completely wiped them out. Like there was no
Why?
more libertarian. That they said they were stale, right? That these are stale, so we're getting rid of them. But they didn't get rid of any stale Democrats or Republicans. Those are clearly not stale,
Joe Biden
right?
seems pretty stale.
Yeah, those are clearly not stale, right? Like, so then the Libertarian Party sued the state, and the judge said, "Oh yeah, you're right. This shouldn't have happened. It's wrong. But I'm not going to return the people to the rolls." So, in order to be a party in Maine, you have to have 10,000 registered voters.
Mhm.
That's the requirement. And so we were at zero, and we had to start over. And so, I literally ended up spending $50,000 of my own money to get canvassers out there and re-register voters so that Maine could get party status again. Because if I'm going to be running for president, how can you win if you can't even get on the damn ballot?
Right,
Right? Like,
right.
and so and the rules are totally different for Republicans and Democrats. And when I tell people that, they say, "Well, that's not American. The rules should be the same." What? I don't understand. And it's like, well, because you have two private corporations running our elections. The
Right.
RNC and DNC are private corporations. I think a lot of people don't understand that, right? And they are literally using taxpayer dollars to fund their elections of their private corporations pick, right? And you see that right now. They were in New Hampshire, and they said to the Democrats, "It doesn't matter who you vote for. Biden's our pick. This primary is a charade." And they literally said the quiet part out loud, right? They said, your vote doesn't count. We're going to pick whoever we want at our convention. This is just to placate you and make you feel like you have a voice, right? And then you had Colorado and Maine dropping Donald Trump off the ballot, and everybody got outraged. How can they do this? This is un-American. Well, they've been doing that to libertarians for 50 years, right? And people seem to only care about free and fair elections when it affects them and their party.
Yeah.
And I want to level the playing field for all candidates, regardless of party. In fact, personally, I'd love to get rid of parties, right? But people are always going to collude together, so there's no way to really effectively do that. But at least if you want to run as an independent like RFK right now, you shouldn't have to jump through all these hoops in order to just get on the ballot so people can vote for you. In fact, he started running for an independent, and then he quickly found out that in like 5 or 6 states, there is zero chance to run as an independent. So he had to form a political party in order to get on the ballot. So now he's no longer an independent. He's part of his new political party, right?
What's
So
his political party? I didn't even know about that. What is his?
it's in California. There's like 3 states in California. I can't remember what it's called, Peace and Freedom or something like that.
Something like that. Okay.
You know, and you can look it up. It was news. And so it was a joke to me that like literally you can't run as an independent and have any chance, right? And I also say that too because of the winner take all laws in states. I don't know if you're familiar with winner take all laws, but in order to win the presidency, you have to get 270 electoral votes.
Right.
Whoever gets it, right? And so like in California here, where we are, it's like 80% Democrat, 20% Republican, right? And so when we go to the polls, 80% vote Democrat, 20% vote Republican, but 100% of the electoral votes go to the Democrats. The 20% of Republicans vote doesn't matter. And that actually is the case in 70% of Americans vote for president. It only counts in the battleground states where there's like a slight margin, right? All the rest of the states are already locked up. That's why presidents don't come to California and campaign very much, because they know we're insignificant. All 35 million of us are insignificant in the measure, right? And so one of the things that I kind of came up with, which is a unique plan, is to deny the 270 electoral votes needed to win by both Trump and Biden, okay? And that would cause what's called a contingent election it's in the Constitution, and it sends the election to the House of Representatives to choose who the president is, right?
Okay.
And each state gets one vote and that sort of thing. And so what I'm trying to do is kind of wake up America and show them how rigged the system is, and that's why they need to embrace my voters' Bill of Rights to make it level and equal and fair, so that we don't have this charade where these 2 private companies are pre-picking who you're going to get the vote for, right? I mean, all my life I voted for Clinton or Bush, and now it's Biden or Trump, like, I don't want these choices. This is the best America has to offer. Come on. Like, there's so many. I can name 20 people that I think would be better presidents than either of those guys, and do a much better job. And those people are too smart to run for office. they don't want it. And I don't know. I don't know what that says about me.
Oh, I mean, so I like this campaign slogan, unrig the system. That's what you have all over your website. You're wearing a shirt, I think, that even says that.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, and I think that's a really great message. I think that there's a lot of people who are totally unaware. I think a lot of people understand that they're sick of the duopoly, that the 2 parties are the same, but I don't think they get into the nitty gritty. I try to cover it, but it is complex, the nitty gritty of how the election system actually works in America, and how difficult it is to actually get your name on the ballot, and how rigged it actually is.
It's nerdy. It's nerdy. And people are working, right? People have families, they're taking their kids to school, they're working, they get home. They don't care about this stuff. Like, they just want to know that things are going to be better for them, that things are going to be fixed for them, that the government cares and is actually going to be working for them. But the reality of it is that's just not the case, right? The government is working for itself now. And like I said, I want to get back to that service position where the government is serving the people again. I say that government breeds mediocrity, and the more government we have, the more mediocre we become, because it basically drains everything to the common sum, and there's no desire to excel or exceed, right? And it basically placates everybody with just like it's kind of back to that, like, give them bread and the Roman Colosseum and they'll be fine, right? And but I mean, and it's sad, but it seems like we just keep repeating the same thing over and over again, and it feels like government in itself is doomed to fail. Like, it grows and grows and grows until it just basically takes out all of the life from the system, and then it collapses on itself. And so I feel like that's where we're headed if we don't rein in government, if we don't reduce it a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is always, but I feel like it's always doomed to fail. It's always like cyclical, right? We go
Yes,
from certain types of governments to other types. I don't. There's no civilization in existence that's ever
that's
lasted.
right. Yeah, yeah,
Everything
and I feel like
collapses
we're getting toward the end. It
rapidly.
feels like
Maybe
that.
right, and maybe more so rapidly than in previous civilizations because of internet, because of the
Yep.
speed of information.
Yes.
Um, okay, so let's talk about now. So I like that position a lot. They unrig the system and getting people, making people aware of this, but it is wonky for people. They don't fully understand it, and I think a lot of people believe like, oh no, we just live in a democracy. My vote counts. Like I think that's like the
Yeah.
average sentiment of the
Sure.
average American. That's what they believe. That's what we were taught.
That's what the school teaches you, right? The
Yeah.
school teaches you that, and who runs the school?
But the alarming thing is it is two corporations, two private
Yep.
corporations running our election system, the RNC and the DNC. And there are some defiant there, there's some defiancy, like in New Hampshire with the primary going against the DNC and saying, screw you, we're doing it the way we want no matter what. We're going
Right.
forward.
Yeah.
But these corporations, they don't even have to have a primary. The Democratic
That's
Party
right.
doesn't even have to have a primary. Republic, they
No,
don't have to. They could just
they
say,
don't
no,
have
this
to.
is our candidate.
It's literally just to placate the people and pander to the people and make them feel like and get them riled up, and it's also a great way to raise money, right?
Yeah,
Like this whole thing is almost like a reality TV show. It's almost like the 700 Club or something like that, right? Where they're just trying to raise money and they're trying to like fan the flames of their base and tell them, if Joe Biden gets in, he's going to do the bad things to the Republicans, and if Trump gets in, he's going to do the bad things to the
right.
Democrats, and so you got to give us money so that we can protect you from the bad things, right? And then,
Yeah.
but the reality of it is, all the bad things that they say are going to happen almost never happen. Like it feels like they get into power and then it's just stagnant anyway, because you have usually a divided Congress or a president that says no or whatever. And so really nothing ever happens. Obama was going to pass healthcare for all, right? And then it got turned into healthcare for the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies. and
Right.
screw the people, right? And it's like, and then we had the 2008 financial crisis, and it just goes on and on and on. And immigration, like they don't seem to care about doing anything about that, right? And clearly they don't care about our national debt. We're $34 trillion in debt. No president in my entire life has reduced the debt overall during their presidency. No one cares, right? And that's a huge thing when in California, and the left talks about income inequality and wealth inequality all the time, right? Like that's a big thing on the left. And they blame the corporations, but they completely are missing the puppet master that's above the corporations, which is the Federal Reserve. When the
Mhm.
Federal Reserve prints $34 trillion, the way that they get it to the people and out into the system is they give it to the banks, and the banks
Mhm.
give it to the corporations. And by the time it trickles down to you and me, we get like 10 cents on every dollar, right? And so that is why since 1913, which is when the Federal Reserve was adopted and when the IRS was instituted, Americans have just been losing their standard of living, endlessly, right? Like that's why grandma paid 5 cents for a loaf of bread and we're paying $5 for a loaf of bread,
Yeah.
right? It's because they literally are stealing the money from the American people, and it doesn't matter Republican or Democrat, they just don't seem to care about being fiscally responsible at all. And that's a key piece of my economic platform is we need to return to fiscal responsibility. We need to return to a balanced budget. I voted for Ross Perot, I voted for Ron Paul. All these guys were huge on ending the debt, because it is a drain. It's a hidden tax that most people don't. If they raise the tax to on every citizen by 40%, everybody would be outraged, right? But if they
Mhm.
print $8 trillion and devalue the money that's in your pocket and turn the dollar that's in your pocket to 5 cents, people will just complain that prices are so high, and then they blame the corporations for raising the prices, right? So like they literally slough off the blame, where the Federal Reserve is the one to blame. And so ideally I'd like to audit the Fed or end the Fed, vastly reduce its ability to steal money from people, and force Congress to be fiscally responsible. As president, I would veto any uh, budget that wasn't balanced.